Hello and welcome back to our final segment of Studio 122, special edition about the BSM. And I'm of course your host, Ethan Griggs, and yet again we are joined by the director of the BSM, Joe Schmidt, and we're joined by another leadership team member, Caleb Rudolph. How are you doing today, Caleb?
Doing good. How are you doing, Ethan?
I can't complain, but go ahead and you have been on a mission trip, right?
Yes, I have.
Can you explain to us exactly what a mission trip is?
What a mission trip is through the BSM is that we offer international and local trips for students to take, and what we do is that we try to meet the needs of those in orphanages or the poor or those in urban fittings, and we just try to reach their physical and spiritual needs. And it's a great opportunity for students just to go on these trips and just try to minister and to be friends and just to fellowship with them during that experience.
Right on, right on. Well, what are the three trips done by the BSM?
The three major trips for the BSM is the Kansas City and the Mexico mission trip. There's also South Padre that is offered in the spring. The first two, they're offered in the winter semester. And with Kansas City, we go to a women's battered shelter for families, and these families are actually homeless, and so we try to offer just fellowship and try to help out at the battered shelter as we can. The Mexico trip, we go down to Mexico for about a week and a half, and we go down to an orphanage and help build up some of the buildings there and just help with the construction and offer vacation Bible schools during that week. The spring break mission trip that we go on is offered we go down to South Padre, and so we offer free van rides, pancakes, and we just, during that week, we fellowship and try to witness to those that we meet. It's quite an experience down at South Padre because we meet people from Brazil, Australia, just all across the globe.
Right on, all right. What are some of the requirements in order to go on these mission trips?
The only requirements, at least for Mexico, is that you would have to have your passport and you would have to pay for the trip. For Kansas City and for South Padre, you don't need a passport at all. You would just need to pay the amount that is required for the trip. I know in my past experience at South Padre, I didn't actually have the money to go on the trip, but God really provided, and there was an anonymous donator who paid for my trip during that week. And it was really great experience, and even if you think that, you don't have what it takes or you don't have the money to go on a mission trip, anybody can do it. They just have to have a willing heart.
Right on, right on. Well, tell us about how the experience has impacted your life on going to these mission trips.
For me, when I went to South Padre, I didn't really have much expectations on going on the trip. I've never done anything like that before. It took us about 12 hours to get to South Padre, so it gave you a lot of time to think about, well, what kind of people am I going to meet? What am I going to be there to do? But you realize that you're amongst other people who are part of the organization that we're part of Beach Reach. And so there were about 1,000 other students who were part of this organization, and we offered free van rides and pancakes. And we offered free van rides almost 24 hours of the day. So if there were people that were coming out of their hotels and they needed to get across the island, then we would just drive them there. And through these van rides, we got to just kind of fellowship and even crack some jokes with each other. And we even had the opportunity to share our faith, and we met many other people that had different beliefs as us. So it was a real cool experience to have a better perspective of someone else's religion.
Right on, right on. Well, in your experience, how should one, if they were going to thinking about going on a mission trip, how should one prepare themselves?
Expect not to get any sleep whatsoever. I learned that the hard way. And just have a willing heart. Just be very flexible about the schedule changes that you'll have with your organization. By the end of the week, I actually got really sick, and I didn't think that I could go on another van ride, but the group I was with, they prayed with me, and I got feeling a lot better that last day, and it was just a real cool experience to see God work through the lives of those around me, and I really did form a bond with the people that I was working with.
Right on. Joe, do you have anything you'd like to add?
What we hope will take place in students' lives, you'd ask them how did it impact his life. There's something one of the reasons we go on these trips is there's just something kind of unique about separating yourself from your normal day-to-day life and putting yourself in a very different, strange position. Kind of makes you rely on God a little bit more. But also your whole focus, you don't worry about schoolwork or your job or anything like that. You're just focused on God and other people. And in that kind of a setting, interesting things can happen. I hope for students that go on the trips that they'll have kind of the same experiences I had when I was in college. I will never forget my first mission trip. Went down to South Texas and we're building a house for a pastor. It was horrible weather. It was raining and stuff, and we're working trying to get this house dried in. And I noticed that every time a rain squall would come through, this group of girls would stop working and go over and get in a huddle and pray. And I remember real clearly thinking, well, that's sweet and spiritual, but if you'd keep working, maybe we could get the house dried in, so it wouldn't be a problem. But then I noticed something that just blew me away. Every time they went over and prayed, it stopped raining.
Oh, wow.
And for me, I'd grown up in church. I'd been a Christian since I was 8 years old, but that, I think, was the first time I'd ever seen a prayer specifically answered immediately. I don't know that I would have experienced that if I'd never gone on a mission trip. And those kinds of things ideally happen on the trips that we go. So we want people to experience God's reality and just His power and how He can move and actually touch people's lives.
That's pretty impressive. That's good. Caleb, do you have anything that you'd like to add about your experiences with BSM?
Yes. Last year I came to the university for the first time as a transfer student. And I grew up in the church, and I really did not want to get involved with anything at all that had to do with a Christian environment. But the people that I met at the BSM, they were very down to earth and just very friendly and, offered help. They helped me through some of my classes, and I learned that it's more of a fellowship of just a group of people with a common belief, and you can learn so much from each other with all the different denominations that were gathered at the BSM. And I would just encourage anybody that is more interested, in what the BSM is all about to just come and we'll fellowship and play some ping pong. So,
I want to thank you guys for joining us. And of course, that has been Caleb Rudolph and Joe Schmidt. And of course, I'm your host, Ethan Griggs, on this special edition of Studio 122 about the Baptist Student Ministries. Be sure to join us next time on the next Studio 122 here on Main Media TV.